All right, so here we have a Eminence Blackwood Forest Grak Alpha Pack. So we're gonna open this up, check out the cards inside, and see what we get. Let's do the old knife. All right, I'm excited to check this out. I don't know if the Grak one has really changed too much, but I think we might like to go through it again with a little bit better perspective this time, especially from the camera angle too. Okay, here we go. Cool. Once again, packaging looks great. So far, we've had 2 different sets ordered of these starter boxes, and both have come consistent like this. Great quality. Good job, Black Lotus out there in China. That's pretty cool that they can do this good. I love that card back. Every time I want to zoom in and show you guys the card back. It's awesome. All right, so now we're going to pop this little plastic wrap, and we're going to get into the actual deck here. So hold on a second. They wrapped this up really good. I think you remember, if you've watched previous videos, you know I struggle to get in, but I have a very sharp knife this time, so hopefully I don't cut myself with it in the process. Okay, hold on here. There we go. Just had to get it around that corner. Let's grab this, put it over there. Okay, so we have our cash card. This is a nice reminder on the battlefield to keep our cash. Oh, got a little area stuck to the back. Crispy. Got 2 castle keeps. Gain 1 renown when you destroy an enemy unit. I love this one. It's a simple land to take over. It's very, very claimable. Very good in like a knight deck or something like that. It's very strong. Hero of the Knight Academy. Love the art on this one. I think this one has a lot of synergy with, obviously, with knights, but I mean, you can really do a lot of cool stuff where you wait until later in the game to start taking this one over because you can give all knights charge. So, and also the -4, search your bank for a knight, add it to your hand is super useful. I mean, this is really what knight decks are missing because, I mean, I don't know. If it's outside of a famous merchant, I don't know how else a knight's going to really tutor up too many units. So this is very cool for them. I would definitely run three of these in a knight's deck. And especially because you're getting 3 victory points for claiming it. Yeah, all day. 3 of it in a knight deck all day. Hero Vale Mortuary. Oh, yeah. The home of old Curio Dreadvale. Beautiful art. The inside of the place is gorgeous too. See that maybe when the website comes out. Gain 1 renown when a card is put into a crypt. So this is going to be awesome to get a stronghold in first. I mean, if you can take this one over early and start accruing renown quickly as the game just kind of progresses, you can obviously, like, this one can just kind of work itself up to claimable. And, you know, banished target card from a crypt, that can be useful too. Don't sleep on the graveyard hate of that card. Coliseum. Destroy a unit and survive is the name of the game of this one. This one's interesting to use. I think the -2 ability is really, really good. You can really set up some sweet board states where you can -2 and draw a ton for all the damaged knights and fighters and other things that you're going to have in that area fighting for it. Especially good if you think about like just getting 2 renown on it and then maybe focusing on other areas. And then your opponent comes back to try to claim this later, and you can kind of charge this thing with a group of units and instantly replace them late game by ticking down the -2. So I think there's a lot of cool, right? Like this one and Hero of the Knight Academy, I think, are the 2 best for your knight decks and your aggressive get on the board early decks. And we have Training Arena. This one's useful. It's one of the few places that I think buffs fighters right now. So that's cool that you're getting the value for fighters and knights. And then adding it to your cash is a little different than adding it to your hand. It's not quite as good as adding it to your hand, I think, in a fighter or a knight deck. Compared to like putting something into your cash with like a Valtor deck, but it's still really good. That mana reduction is going to make up for maybe the cost of having to get your cash full. It just depends on how your deck's going. Because if you're not playing your deck with the cash full, this could not be the greatest area. So you need a knight or a fighter deck that wants to have a cash close to usable at all times. So just keep that in mind. A little bit more resourceful of a knight or fighter deck. So maybe more of a mid-range strategy with that card. So those are our plots. This is going to make up our plots deck. So you flip these over. When you start a game of Eminence, you're going to take, depending on if you go first or second, you're going to take 2 or 3 of these. The player who goes first gets 2 of his areas. The player who goes second gets 3 of his areas. So what you want to do is you want to build this plots deck to get the most out of these cards in your deck of units and support cards. So this is going to get randomized before every match, and you're going to have to draw 2 of them and put them out onto the battle area. So we'll kind of randomize these a little bit. I don't want to get them too dinged up, but say you get a Hero of Knight Academy, and we're going to grab a different card, and a Coliseum as your 2 areas. This is the type of matchup where you're going to need to really lean on your knights, and you're going to need to lean on a strategy that comes around getting value out of the Coliseum. So you're either going to need to survive combat a lot and make sure that you gain renown that way. So you're going to need to deploy your units intelligently, get the most out of their resistance, get 2-for-1s, stuff like that. And then you want to set up the -2 on this as well. And then like I was saying with this one's very versatile. I think this is your most versatile starting area for a fighter deck, for a knight deck. I mean, this is where you want to go. You definitely want to see this. So I think that's a pretty good spread for your first 2 areas in a matchup. So yeah, that would be how a game starts. And then these 2 plots would be removed after game 1, and you would move on to the plots remaining, and you would set up again for game 2. Just a little debriefer on how that works. So once you start a game, what cards are you playing with? Well, an absolute classic in the Knights deck, the Arc Knight. Top end guy, he comes in on 5, has charge and renown. So basically, he applies some sort of clock no matter where he goes, whether he goes to an area or he applies pressure to units the turn he's deployed. So Arc Knight, great curve topper for Knights decks. I can see why it's uncommon. It should be. It's a very good card. And Charge of Renown, that combination of words just gives him a lot of versatility for a Knight deck, that it's either winning them the game through combat or it's pushing a point quickly after being deployed, and then it leaves a 4/2/2 behind, which is a respectable stat line. If this was a 4-mana card, it would still be decent. It would be I mean, really good if it was 4-mana. It'd be really good if it would still be playable if it was a 6-mana card. So I think that 5 is the sweet spot. 4 would be just a little too good for this type of effect. So we get 2 of those Arc Knights. That's cool. Banded Mail, really good on fighters. And it's actually quite versatile. Barbarians, clerics, fighters, knights, paladins, and wardens can all wear it. +2 red for 3. So I like this a lot more than Chainmail. It's obviously not as versatile as Chainmail because I can go on any class. But this is just like getting that little bit of upside on a fighter is nice. Fighters deserve love. They should be really good with equipment, and this reflects that. So you're going to get a lot of value with Banded Mill in a fighter deck. So keep that in mind. Still good on all the physical classes, really. Battle Axe. So this is just like your crit monster. Like, you roll a 6 with this, the +3, deal 3 extra crit damage. I mean, this is just really stacks up in a hurry if you manage to hit that 6. So the cost of that 3 crit damage is the reduced crit range. You only have that, roughly, I don't know, it's like a 16-17% chance to hit that. But I mean, if you do hit it, it's an automatic +6 damage. So I think that's pretty efficient, and it'd be cool to see it in a shaman deck. Yeah, they can use axes. That's cool. Berserker Brew. Cool card. It's a global, so it's like anytime you want to use it. Comes out with a potion dose counter on it, which I think is cool. I think potions with dose counters is really cool. That's like a great way to show the value of a potion. And being 1 dose just kind of shows the consumability of it, if that's a word, I think. But yeah, it's just cool to know that dose counter is gone, the card's gone. It plays really well. Remove a dose counter, give target charge. So charge, really valuable, especially when you can put it on any unit now for 1 mana and a card. But yeah, potions are cool. I hope we see more potions as the sets continue to develop. I'm sure they would. Like the newest set coming out, I with the flavor of that set and the way that I feel the set design is going, I could see potions being a bigger factor for sure in the sets coming up. Love me some Blackwood Cavalier. I think this is some of the best art in the entire game. Simple, effective. It has a lot of velocity. It's coming at you. I think it showed, this card exemplifies charge better than any other card, I feel like. Otis is pretty good too. Otis looks pretty cool too. But Blackwood Cavalier, classic, a 3/1/1 stat line. It's going to live through combat for a minute. It's going to have charge. It's really good at picking up a weapon and just getting in there and causing mayhem. Keep him in your hearts, where we always keep Blackwood Cavalier. Another guy near and dear to our hearts, the problem child, Boglin's Hijacker, the 2/1/0 charge. The difference is that this costs 50% more to get charge, whereas this is giving you charge for basically the cheapest cost possible, which is 2. I think being a goblin and being barbarian is probably worse for now than being a human knight. I think there's way more stuff that can buff Blackwood Cavalier, for example, and give his charge more lethal value. But cool card. I don't know. I've seen this guy pick up like a great axe before. Grak gives him precision, and he comes over and hits like 20 something damage. Like, I'm not shitting you guys. Like, it is. You can really do some cool stuff with a quick charge and a fortunate precision crit at the right time. So we got the fighter of the group here, Brawler. He just punches really hard. No, these guys don't want to talk to him. So yeah, he's pretty simple design. I mean, he's a 2/2/0. He's gonna live through wimpy 1 damage, but he has no resistance. So 2 damage is 2 damage for this guy. He's gone. But I think for fighters, a 2/2/0 is just exactly what they want. This just gets meat on the menu. Meat's back on the menu, boys. All right. Carpenter. Carpenter is a sick card. It doesn't look like much, but I think this is honestly like the Llanowar elves of Eminence, if that makes sense. Like, this is when you go back and you look at early ramp, hieroglyphics on the ancient, Egyptian trading card wall. This is the guy that we're going to look back and be like, man, Carpenter really flew under the radar, and he might have been the best card in the entire game the whole time. Maybe hyperbole, I don't know. But this card, being human and being a 1-cost tradesman, this card could be one of the most liquid. This is the, how do I explain this? This is the McDonald's cheeseburger of Eminence cards. This card's not going anywhere. This card's not going anywhere, guys. This is the McDonald's cheeseburger of cards. Feel safe getting your place at a Carpenter's. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, I love Carpenter. I've said enough about it. But 1-cost tradesman, I think you'll see I'm going to be building a Mac deck when tournament play starts kicking off. I'm going to be building a Mac deck that's centered around 1-cost tradesman. And this guy being allowed in there is just awesome. You got your Carpenters, you have your Villagers, you have your Essence Miners. You have a lot of options at the 1-drop tradesman. And in the right leader, I think Grak takes great advantage of him, but in the right leader, this card is just sick. So expect to see a lot of this card. I know I've spent like 2 minutes talking about it, but it deserves it. So don't sleep on Carpenter. Cleave. So this is a feat. So this is something that's going to trigger once per turn. Anytime your unit destroys a unit, it may attack again. So for the cost of 1 mana and a card, your unit passively has the ability to re-trigger in combat and kill something else. So this is really useful, especially if you have a unit that's like pressing its resistance advantage. You have the ability to get a 2-for-1. I mean, sometimes this unit with cleave isn't even taking any damage because it's so well set up. If you think like this, the cleave unit maybe has 2 red resistance and is clearing out 2 smaller red units that use red attack. I mean, it doesn't take any damage in the process, and you clear 2 units. So definitely think about cleave as a strong card. I don't know if it's a 3 of or anything like that, but on the right unit, it doesn't matter if it's cleave or great cleave. It's just going to give you a lot of value. Enlightened Young Knight, precision. So it's interesting the cards that come with precision in the Grak deck, because this guy is almost always going to get overwhelmed from Grak because he already has precision. But what's so bad about precision and overwhelm on the same card? Am I right? So cool stat line, 3/2/2 with a skill there, precision. So I think that's a very good stat line when you get a 3/2/2 and you're also getting that like chance to hit for 4 damage, possibly more. All equipment and stuff has huge upside on this guy with precision baked in. So I mean, yeah, in a Grak deck, a guy with precision seems kind of like, oh, it's restricting in a way, but I don't know, it's actually really good. You just give him overwhelm and then he has precision on top of it. So you only get one of those. Maybe this should go to a 3 of. If you are building a version of the deck with more knights, I definitely would get 3 of this guy. He's very good. Unsung so far. This is what I was talking about. This is the type of way you can come across the field with the charge, and you can hit for like 20-something damage, because you have these crit chances, you have a precision chance, and you have these huge +4 bonuses. So great sword, great axe. Great axe has a 6 crit. Oh my gosh. Wow, I didn't realize it was that big. That's what she said. Goodness. I'm gonna have to mark this unsafe for kids. But yeah, so crit 6 and crit 4. I love great sword. Honestly, I love a good, my name is Rune two-hander, so I'm gonna be partial to the guy with a two-handed sword. But man, great axe really cooks when you crit, guys. Holy smokes, it's +10 damage when you crit. Wow. Yeah, so anyways, the crit range on greatsword's cool. You have a 33% chance to crit, which is really nice. So it just depends on your flavor. This one is going to obviously get like more oohs and ahs when it actually connects. Greatsword, probably you're more greedy, but you're still choking up on the bat a little bit compared to this one. That is nuts. Really good equipment, and that's the type of equipment that is going to give Valtor and Mac nightmares, because that's the stuff that just removes them in one swing. Great cleave. 3 cost. Okay. So when a unit destroys a unit, it may attack again. No restriction. That is the key on great cleave. No restricting clause. So this is going to go off as much as you go off. So if you imagine like a game of checkers where you have your opponent perfectly lined up, great cleave is going to come in and be that card that cleans it up like that. So you can see those huge combo turns where, like I said, a unit that has resistance already to the board comes in and takes advantage of maybe charge and great cleave on the same turn. Could be absolutely devastating. So definitely check that one out. That's a very good card. It's a rare for a reason. So keep that one. Save that one for a good unit for late game, for sure. Heartclan Warrior. 5/2/2 with precision. Another great stat line. These the fighter stat lines and the knight stat lines that have the one ability are usually pretty good. He's a halfling, which is cool. You can throw him in the Mac deck and give yourself an actual big body, which is something to consider. But yeah, like I was saying about the Enlightened Young Knight, this card is just a bigger version, really. It doesn't get the knight bonus though, so I would definitely check that out. I think fighters are really good, but if you consider that Curtis and stuff like that exists for knights already, then it's going to be hard to beat the knight tribe for a while. But Hearthgun Warrior, good card. Hide Armor. So this is your one chance to really stick it to Valtor on a unit. Can make it extremely hard to remove. Earthquake's still going to get through Hide Armor wearing units, but this is really good against Jolt. All those things that are going to, Essence Break especially, really stops an Essence Break in his tracks. Hang on to that against Valtor. Don't put it into your guild hall. Iron Legion Squire is a barbarian. I made the mistake of last time saying he was a knight, and I even said, oh, well, if he wasn't a knight, he would still be good. So he's a barbarian. He's a 4/3/1, which is a barbarian stat line. So it showed, I mean, you saw our knights were really balanced, our fighters were mostly balanced, and this barbarian has a higher, much higher attack than defense. This card is like the closest you're going to get to like a red removal spell, I feel like, because that 3 damage, the 4 health is nice. It can survive, but it definitely removes stuff. This card is very good at removing other stuff. Speaking of good at removing other stuff, Big Daddy, Iron Legionnaire, 6/3/3. I noticed that there's one of these in the deck now, which is probably safe. Looks like the curve kind of lightens out at 6 a little bit, which is cool. 6/3/3 vanilla. I mean, this is top of the tree type stuff. This is good stat line and can really close the door on decks that aren't prepared to deal with another big unit. Journeyman Knight, one of the oldest existing cards in the game. Love the art. 3/2/1 stat line, classic. Vanilla, 3 costs. I mean, this just does a lot of things really well for the Knight deck. It gets you on board. It gives you a 2 attack unit that has some health. He does have a little bit of resistance. So, I mean, it's a solid card. It's been around since the beginning of playtesting. It's gone through a couple different names. It's gone through a lot of different mana costs. At one point, it costs an ore and a food. So now we have 3 costs. That just shows you how far certain cards have gone. I love to remember the cards that were there in the beginning and give them their props, because this guy survived a lot of refinements to the rules and things like that. And this card has just always been there as a solid 3-drop for a lot of decks, and Grak gets to play him, and it's cool. He's still here. Knight Lieutenant is an upgraded version. He's a 5/2/3. He traded some of his aggressiveness for some more defense, which is probably why he got promoted to Lieutenant, if you really think about it. 5/2/3 vanilla 5 is just fantastic. Fantastic stat line. Not flashy by any means. I mean, the 2 damage can probably be outclassed pretty easy at that 5-drop spot, but he's got 3 defense. So in the right matchup, this card is a wall. He's a wall with enough attack that's going to keep things honest. He can clear small units. Yeah, he's more of a wall for sure with that 3 defense. 5/3, 5 HP, 3 defense. That kind of definitely is going to gum up the board against decks that are trying to get through and don't have a way to deal more than 3 red. That's going to be a big problem. Stone Skin, Mudmaw Outlander. So this is cool. I like the fact that he's a finesse defense barbarian, and then he has the Stone Skin ability. That's like, this is like basically a vanilla card, but it's more flexible / hybrid than a vanilla card, right? Because a vanilla card would have to either decide to put the stat somewhere else, or it would have to put another point into green defense. Whereas this card gets around that by putting the point into green defense and then saving a point for the Stone Skin ability. So if you look how that card lines up, it's very finely tuned to be a little bit more balanced than other barbarians in the 3 slot. So I think that's cool. It's not flashy. No one's going to write home about Mudmaw Outlander, but this thing will stick around. I've seen games where it's like, oh, Mudmaw Outlander, and you kind of don't think much of it, and then 4 or 5 turns later, he's still out there because he's just so resistant. Otis Bone Shard. Wow, the text box looks really good. Nice job on the text box. Ready, charge, unique 6-drop barbarian human. So this guy is basically Grak's right-hand man. He's going to be leading your Iron Legion. He's a bad dude. That axe throw ability is a great way to get a card out of your hand that's not helping you. Imagine like a hide armor against another red deck, or imagine a banded mail against Valtor. It's a great time to turn that into an axe and get that value and tap this guy and really leave a huge threat on the board that removes something else and still has 6 HP. I think it's really cool. I think the fact that he can come in and he can use Ready and Charge so effectively is what makes this card so cool. He is a great late game board kind of resetter, I guess would be a way to explain it. If you're behind, I think Otis can be really, really strong. And if you're ahead, Otis is really, really strong too. So I think this card's really good. I think it should be a unique. I think it has to be unique at the power level it's at. But Otis is a cool figure in the game. I hope this card sticks around for a long time. I think it's one of the cards where it's like that 4 red or 4 green is just a very flashpoint damage, if that makes sense. It's going to clear a lot of things for a considerable amount of time. So good card. And I would definitely get, I like to collect Otis Bone Shards. Just between you and me. I think he's really cool. Raider. Barbarian with finesse attack, always cool. So any weapon you're going to put on this guy is really going to buff up finesse damage, which is unique. You got to think about this guy as your best answer with a weapon besides Scimitar. I mean, he's really the best thing you have against another Grak deck so far, besides maybe throwing an axe with Otis, but that's, you know, a unique card. And you have two Raiders in the deck and 2 Scimitars. So as I was saying, those, you see those green gems lining up. Those are your best answers, your most efficient answers, I guess I should say, against a other Grak deck. So keep that in mind. You don't want to fire these off uselessly. You want to really make sure you get some value out of these cards. Scimitar, talked about it a lot in other videos, has that 33% crit chance, has a lot of different classes that can wield it. It deals 2 extra damage on a crit, which is useful. It's a good card. Definitely want Scimitars in a deck where you need to switch over from red damage to green quickly. Oh boy. So I love the original art, and I love this art too. Look at the pool of blood. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's a bit faceless, as you can see. And that was on purpose. This guy, I don't know, he kind of has some Silent Hill 2 vibes. I love that about him. It's a very cool card. And the 3/2/1 stat line with Blood Drunk. It's a vanilla card, really, but it's a vanilla card that every time it takes damage, it's not losing any stats. So that's why Blood Drunk is such a cool ability. You're losing HP, but you're gaining those points in damage. So if you think about a vanilla creature getting its HP chunked, then it's technically less than a vanilla card at that point, right? If it has 1 HP left and it's missing stat points at that point. But this card, as it loses HP, it gains it in attack. It's a nice equilibrium. And I think it fits the Barbarian really well. And I love the fact that it's an elf. So one of my favorite cards. 10 out of 10. You know what, again. Short Sword. Shoddy. Shardy, I don't mind. So this is a good card. A lot of different classes can equip it. 33% crit chance. 2 for 2. 2 cost for 2 damage. I think is really efficient. That's probably one of the most efficient trades you can get. I think because it gives you red damage, it's the most limited. But it's also very flexible too, if you look at how many classes can equip it. I think this is just like infinitely better than Dagger, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if I'll ever play a Dagger compared to that card. If you can't wield this, then I don't know. You shouldn't be wielding anything, probably. A Wandering Goon. Reckless Tactics. It's kind of a play on Blood Drunk. It's not quite as good. Blood Drunk's better. But this guy's stat line's really good. 4/1/1. Pay a mana. He can trade up. He can use his HP pool, which is probably the main part of this card, is that you want to use that HP pool. For a 3-drop, the 4 HP is a nice marker there that this card's going to survive if you use him right. He can eat green damage, he can eat blue damage in small chunks. So he's a good, useful card. I love the art. He just looks like he's up to no good. He's a Wandering Goon. Wooden Kite Shield, another great way to get on the board against Valtor. So I can see already that this deck has better tools to fight Valtor with than the first list for Grak, which is great. So you have taunt ability there. You can intercept an attack of another unit, which is really good. And then +2 magic for 2. I think that's a good trade. 2 for 2. 6 classes can equip it, so it's fairly usable. Fairly usable. It's a good card. Young Knight. As we talked about, vanilla knights are good. Young Knight is good. He's got the 2-1-1 stat line, but he's in a good tribe. I think that's what matters. It's being in the Knight clan that's really going to make him good. Getting a buff from other cards. You have 3 of them in the deck, which is useful, right? This is going to get you on the board. It's going to force your opponent to think about being efficient with how to deal with him. The 1 damage doesn't look like much, but if he survives a few turns, it can add up. So definitely be careful underestimating a Knight. I think he's pretty simple card, but he'll stack up well in a Knight deck as the curve continues to develop. Okay, we got 2 Strong Strikes now, which I think is cool. This card is probably what Grak wants. There comes a point in the game where it's like, I can only deploy so many 4 or 5 drops, and I need to start really making a mess. And 2 Strong Strikes can help you do that. So I would definitely think that's better than having too much top end is probably getting more cards to play. And then you can always use the Renown abilities on those areas to help replenish some of the Knights and stuff that you need. So I think this is a good way to go. You have a little bit more velocity here, a little bit more tempo with the Strong Strikes. The deck is just ever so slightly got tuned down on the curve a little bit, so it's not quite as top heavy, which is cool. Gives it a little bit more play, a little more breathability. Here's our Commander Grak card. Always cool. So yeah, that's the Commander Grak starter deck. You got 50 cards plus your 10 plots and plus your commander cards. So you get 61 cards total. And yeah, I'm going to sleeve this up. This is my new Grak starter. Otis being the obviously the marquee card in the deck, and then all those other cool cards that I showed you guys. So if you have any questions about the Grak starter deck, leave a comment. I definitely have some cards to give away if you're interested. So let me know if you're wanting to be one of the early players in this game. We have plenty of starter decks for sale, but I'll also be giving some away to some people that want to participate and help out the community and things like that, and give us some early feedback on cards. So for now, that's the Grak deck. We're going to move on to the Valtor deck, and I'll see you guys in a minute.